Good morning. What's up, everybody?
Morning. What's up? What's up? What's up, peoples? It is Friday. It is
Yes,
Friday.
yes. So, what's going on with you, sir? We are getting into November. This is your month. Well, tell the
Yes.
folks what we about to get into today.
November. We about to get into the vulnerability month. Yeah, y'all know what I said. Y'all see my name. Ain't nothing changed. We in the same game, but we talking about as always, we're talking about the credible vulnerability, right? We're talking about it, but we're gonna be talking about all of this month. We're gonna be talking about different areas in vulnerability that is going to push you out of your comfort zone, is going to make you an even awesome leader if you're in that realm, and it's also going to fundamentally get you in tune with how to strategically and intentionally empower yourself by being vulnerable, right? And yeah, so we're gonna work on it. We're gonna work on it. So let's roll. I'm ready. It's a month of November. Then it's no shave
Bam.
November. It's Movember or whatever it is. Got my man Giannis on Team Live. What's up, Mr. Grease?
What? Team Grease on Team Live. Yes.
Mm.
Um, so with visible vulnerability, and first, before we even get into that, I wanted to make sure that you guys got a glimpse for the last roundup of our sponsors for 2022. Make sure that y'all know, if you need a mastermind, you need a group to just bounce ideas off of, head on over to the Live Business Mastermind with Russ and Scott. Head on over to russhedge.com and check out the Live Business Mastermind so you can get some accountability, encouragement on how to use live stream to build up your business. And for those who know that you have that amazing person in your life who you know that they need to tap into their black toolbox, they may
Yes.
just not know how to. Get them that copy of Martin Pratt's book, autographed, just for a limited time. You can get it with when you get that purchase now, you also get a personal consultation where he'll help you walk you through using your black toolbox. And if you know you need it, grab yourself your own copy, or like Mr. Vulnerability likes to say, it's the giving season. So give a copy to
Yeah.
somebody that you know can use this.
Yes, it is the giving season. Gift it to someone. And also, after you gift it to someone, right? You come and book yourself with me. I got 3 sessions left. They have not filled up as yet. I got 3 sessions to end out my calendar year because you know the holiday season. I take it off. I rest with the family. So book that clarity session. Go right now to bevulnerable.club. Hit the charity. Hit the clarity session button. I can't talk this one because everything you want is right on the other side of vulnerability, right? Leadership needs an example, and I walk you through how to be that example from the leadership of one, which is you, all the way through the leadership of the C-suite leadership and those that are in those executive positions. So I walk it all the way down. So whatever phase of the gamut that you're on, I got it for you. So let's get that clarity session together today. Let's see where we can go and let's see where I can push you to new heights.
Here, here. And as I wrap up my calendar season two, you make sure that you get your strategy session with me, because if you are not understanding how to use your website to the ultimate use for yourself, to really boost yourself, your visibility, your credibility, your business, then you're not using your website right. You need to create a digital powerhouse for yourself, and that's where it comes in. So book your strategy session with me, brooklyn.customdesigns.com/strategy. That's BKLYN customdesigns.com/strategy, and get yourself into one of these last remaining seats for the year, because by the time 2023 comes, not only are we doing the strategy sessions differently, we're doing a lot of things differently, from the way we're booking, the way we're pushing out our content and our launches. So make sure that you guys are on top of it and get in now so you can be a part of the changes as well. So I want to make sure that we get into Mr. Vulnerability today because we have a lot of good stuff coming up, and you're breaking down a lot of things this month. So let's start with the visible vulnerability part of it. Where did you get that concept from, first of all? And let's talk about the Mythbuster.
Yes. Yes. That's busting that myth buster. And when the myth buster is the when others see me vulnerable, I won't be respected, right? I think this is the key understanding or misunderstanding, I said. to rephrase that, that we have of showing ourselves vulnerable. Not only once we get past the objectivity of I'm gonna be harmed, is somebody going to use this information against me? The next level of that, especially in business and in leadership positions, the first thing that's attached to that is that I won't be respected once someone sees those barriers removed. The premise is we have to be this, and this is a premise that society has set, and we've set in business for such a long time. I think my dad used to say to me when I was small, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? Because it's making too much noise. So obviously you want to take care of that noise. So you give it oil first and foremost. I think a lot of time leadership is crafted as this same one. The leader is the one with the loudest voice. The leader is the one that garners the most attention, right? But we never really talk about those qualities, which should be the soft skills and characteristics of really being the leader, right? We envision them, we see them as ourselves, but when we're in work environments or even just environments in general, we have these kind of environments that even happen as parallel in our families. We have siblings that may be a little bit more vocal in the essence of that. So it's object from looking on the outside in. Oh, they must be the one that tell everybody what to do, or they must. So it's something. It's a narrative that plays down even from the message of your home all the way through even your school career, your business career could follow you. So the respect part comes from the way that you carry yourself in the essence of that. So when you're vulnerable, it's not the sense of saying that I'm weak. The sense of saying is that I have areas and places in me that are flaws and imperfect. So with that, I'm going to work with that so we can come to a common goal. I think that respect comes from when you really acknowledge that, because a lot of people hate to be caught in lies. Not a lot of people hate to be lied to. So when you have those two together and people find out your flaws, your imperfections, your weaknesses, though they already know you have them, when you attempt to hide them, that's where the disrespect comes in at. And that's really where you give groundwork for the disrespect to linger. Because now you put them in a place of saying, I can't even trust what you're talking about, no way. Because you wasn't even honest enough with me. Now people will tell you this, but they also use things against you that you say, right? But you wasn't even honest enough with me to share what's going on with you. But as soon as I share what's going on with you, you would have blasted that out on social media or to all of the workplace or to your clique. So it's a fine line that you got to walk in the essence of that. And it's a fine line that's there. You got to just make sure that you walk on either side. But when you show others that you're vulnerable, what it really does, and to most people, to a large percentage of, people will see that and they will give you reciprocity in that because you've also hit a nerve that's within them, and it gives them a space and a place to say, oh, okay, if they was okay with sharing that with me, then maybe I could be okay with sharing whatever they feel like sharing with you. And there's a comfort level, and then that's when the true connections are made, and that's when the respect is built on that foundation.
Very true. And even when you're doing stuff like that and you're trying to be open, right? And like you said, people using it against you, then it becomes, is it your issue or is it theirs? Right? Is
That's
it your problem that you're so open and honest, or is it their problem because they won't be honest and they're not open minded enough to respect someone else being honest and open with them? So it becomes almost like that. How do you look at the glass? Is it half full or half empty?
yeah, and the thing about it is when I never look at the receiving on the end when I do vulnerability. I never look on that. I never look. Most people do. Most people say they won't be vulnerable with people because they're afraid of the reception. I'm vice versa. I'm not. I don't care about the reception because I know what vulnerability does when it's displayed among people. Now the
Right.
problem comes in is how do you strategically and intentionally do that, and you'll find me using those two terms together a lot with vulnerability because it has to be placed there. It has to be. There has to be some strategy behind being vulnerable. Other than that, it becomes oversharing. There has to be some intention of what you're being vulnerable with. Besides
Hmm.
that, it's oversharing. So when I use both of them together, it's on a consistent basis, and they go hand in hand with me. If I see some things that I've overcame that does good to the person I'm talking to, or will inspire them in their situation, I share it. It has no bearing on what it has done for me because I've overcame it, but they're still in that puddle. So to help them get across that puddle, to lay the coat down, so to speak, the chivalry part of that, yeah, this is how I came about. Not in comparison to, not in competition to, not competing what I've overcame to their situation. What I'm sharing is them is the outcome of my situation. And
Right.
therein lies draws hope to what they're going through. And when you systematically know that and you get to be aware in that, because aware is another piece of that being visible, when you get to be aware in that, you start to make those connections and they come because we're all looking for connections, right? We're only looking for two things really in life. We're looking for someone to love us and we're looking for someone, we're looking to belong. Those are our primary aspects as humanity. We've always wanted to be loved and we always want to belong. No one wants to be an outcast. I don't care if you say black sheep, whatever categories you put them in,
Right.
ostracized. Everybody wants to belong. And these are the two things that we crave. So when you give that and you give that platform to people, times out of 10, there's opening up. There's going to be a connection. There's going to be a deeperness to the connections you make. And therein lies where vulnerability is so powerful.
And because with Giannis, first I do want to recommend post
Recognize.
this. Recognize. Thank you, Lord have mercy.
Recognize. Mm. Can't talk this morning, y'all. Friday.
Yeah, where James was telling us about, the golden rule drives his respect with others. And it's true, do unto others as you would have them do to you. And respect people just out the gate. Some folks are like, you got to earn respect. Say what? I think there's levels of respect you have to earn. Yes.
Mhm.
But just bare basic minimum respect, that's just given. So I think a lot of folks get that twisted and get it confused with
Yeah.
what you have to work towards and stuff like that. Nah.
Yeah, like it's a
And
job.
Giannis child. And Giannis was speaking to visible in vulnerability as like being
Mm.
committed to a company's culture in 2022. What happens when some of us don't align with the mission or practice performance management? Are we not visible? Are we misfits?
Oh, Giannis, boy, you bring it, Giannis. I'm gonna add you to my question writing team to make sure that we get you in on it, man. I'm telling you, because you bring it every Friday, and I love it. And I'll break this down a little bit in what you say. Well, what happens when the company culture, right? 9 times out of 10, I go to flip on that statistic. So about 90% of the time, the culture is not going to match that visible vulnerability. It's not going to. It's not designed to, and a lot of companies don't buy into it, uh, which is the first and foremost hurdle that you got to overcome to you your
Mhm.
own self starting that. And it's a hard thing to create. I've had places where I work where it was easier to create, and I've had places I work where they just wasn't having it no matter how I did it, right? But those places I'm no longer there because there was a culture that I couldn't see myself growing in. And these are the hard questions you have to ask yourself because when you think about vulnerability, vulnerability is just the things that you are fearful of someone finding out about you. They really are. So when you take those in consideration and you take an evaluation of yourself and say, what are the things that I'm not happy with? And
Mhm.
own those things, or either you try to correct them if they can be, or if they're past things, you don't do them or repeat them. So this is how you get empowered by being vulnerable. Because it's to me, it's empowerment to say, I used to be a drug addict, now I don't do drugs anymore. Now, is it shameful to say that? Absolutely. But the
Right.
power comes in. I was vulnerable at that point in time at that stage in my life. I wasn't a drug addict, but I'm just using that as an example. I
Right.
wasn't powerful at that stage of my life. But look where I came through. Look how I battled back. Look how I fought back. That's tenacity. That's dedication. That's perseverance. All of the qualities that someone needs to overcome. So I can be vulnerable enough to say, yeah, I was there, like people that are depression. I was on someone's show last night, and the lady said she'd been dealing with depression 13 years. And I say, look where she is now. She's overcame that. She's talking to people about it. She's empowering others how to get through it. Those
Mhm.
peaks and points, that vulnerable points in your lives are there for you to help someone else come through. Now it ain't all about you. Everything you go through ain't all about you. I know you want it to be. That song say you so vain. You probably think this song is about you. 90% of the stuff you go through ain't even about you. It's for someone to see you going through. I'm just gonna give it to you real. Yes, do you open yourself up with certain things? Yeah, that's that 10%. You shouldn't have been there, so that's probably what happened to you. Or you shouldn't have said nothing, so that's probably why they did what they did. But that 90% of you just living, you going through these tests and trials so someone can see, oh, yo, see what Carl going through? I can do that. We're inspirations to others. So when you say that part of that, yes, when you don't find that there, it does not mean that you're not visible. Some places are easy to do that in than others. And if it's not a place where you can feel that, that needs to be an evaluation of yourself and say, is this a place I need to be? Because I tell a lot of clients and potential clients, uh, common sense travels, your skills travel. So whether you have the skill for that company, for that job, they're your skills. So they travel. You go to the next place that's doing that same thing, adapt to their way of doing it. So skills travel. So I don't want to hear anyone say that I'm stuck at a job. It's nothing ways I can go. There's no way I can do. It's your skills travel. If you want to get to some place that's going to grow you, you can find a place to do that. It might be hard, but you can do it.
Yeah, it might be hard. You just got to figure out how to transfer it.
Yeah, how to
Um,
do it.
and just one last one, I'm gonna have you do a quick response to this so we can jump into the steps
Okay.
that folks can do to take action so they can be visible in vulnerability. Giannis asked, would the job industry play a role in deciding to open up? Fashion versus management consultant, for an example.
Uh, I will say yes and no, and I hate answering two ways because the simple fact that two ways don't necessarily give you a correct answer. I can say it does play a role in your comfort of opening up, if you can get that meaning that if you're in fashion, it's kind of nonchalant. It's kind of, and I'm not taking away from the industry. I'm just saying it from me on as an outsider looking in. It's kind of because I know it probably could be cutthroat and that kind of thing as well. But I'm just saying from the essence of answering this question, fashion, when you talk about someone in fashions, you kind of see creative, you kind of see joy, you kind of see inspiration. Those are some of the key traits that kind of allow you to be vulnerable without issue. They kind of allow you to express yourself without ridicule. That way it makes you more comfortable. You might open up about some things. You might let people in some places versus management consultant, where there's an ability there to say, okay, you're responsible for X, Y, and Z. Everyone knows that you are. So I have to hold this regiment down to say that they can't see this. In other words, no cracks in my armor, so to speak. So it may be a little bit harder, more formidable to say, yo, I'm struggling with getting these reports done. Or like I really could use you guys' help in these webinars or seminars we're doing. It's a little harder there with that. So yes, your role does play in the area that you does play. It does that, but it only plays in the confidence you have in you because being vulnerable starts with you. Let's not forget that. I can't make you be vulnerable. You have to feel comfortable with that. So if you're comfortable with you, I can share the same story to the fashion people while we on the runway that I can in a Zoom business meeting with Fortune 500 people. That's the comfort level that you have. So playing a role, like I said, it's a twofold, it's a two answer question. But yeah, I ain't got this, man. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, you're just killing it,
So let's
killing it.
let's jump into the first way for you to be visible in your vulnerability. And you say it's about changing your mindset. What is that step like? What do people have to do to really get into that?
Change your mindset with an extension of that dot 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 perspective. Your perspective guides your mindset. And you say, Carl, that should be vice versa, right? Change your mindset, and then you should be have a new perspective. No, the way you see things alter how your mind is set. That's the key to it. So if I'm perceiving thing in a negative connotation, my mind tells me these are the defenses that I should put up because I'm perceiving this to be negative. I'm perceiving this to be harmful. I'm perceiving this to be dangerous. So what it does, what my mind does, it prepares itself for that. We're all in protective mode. It prepares itself. So my mindset says, when I get with Charlene, there's things I won't divulge to her because my perception is she's going to use those things to hurt me. Or I've seen her do that to other people. So now
Mm.
my perspective has really changed my mindset. So what we have to do in changing the mindset, the dot 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 is my perspective has to change so my mindset can shift. I can be powerful in who I am. My mind says, okay, there's flaws there. How do I deal with that? It doesn't say there's flaws there. How do I protect them? It says there's flaws there. How do I empower that? How do I get people to see that? And the Bible is, I hate to go scripture or spiritual on people, but that's part of who I am. The Bible shows that every single prophet that God dealt with had issues. And that was the primary example that we should took away from reading the Bible. The stories are great. Some of the things, the miracles, the signs and wonders are definitely great, and they're definitely real to the believer. But the storylines of the people that he used, it was no perfect person he used to do his will. Every single person in there. So what that tells me is that there's empowerment in you being flawed. There's empowerment in you being imperfect. But it comes along to how can I get my mind to say, this is who I am. This is who people need to see who I am. And this is who I feel comfortable with being. And when you do that, you'll see the shift change. I've seen it happen in so many people. That's why I never stop fighting for it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen on just dealing with people in the course of these 3 years that I've just been doing what I'm doing now online. I've seen people's lives transform. No, they didn't become knowing me and was poor, and now they know me, they rich. Not in that transformation, but the things they're doing, how their mind is receiving information, the stuff that they're doing, the power they feel about themselves now. That's where the mindset comes to play. That's how you be visible in that.
And when you're saying to be with that, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to being in a space where it may not be safe,
Hmm.
you trying to go against the grain of negativity, of shame. You're trying to change your mindset to be more visible in how you're being vulnerable, but you're in an environment that just shames you for that. How can you really fight against that and still be positive in your daily life and be productive? Because that can be draining, especially if you're in a work environment, a home environment where vulnerability is used against you at all costs.
Yeah, the power comes in that. And when I tell people a lot of times about being vulnerable, right? The first thing that we stick to, that we attach ourselves to, such as anything, we attach ourselves to the bad news, like that bad news travels. We attach ourselves to trauma. We attach ourselves to catastrophes. You can go and find someone that's giving out 1 million meals in a region or area, it will not make the news. You give someone to say it was a gang shooting, 40 people got shot, 100 rounds of ammunition, that is all over the news. Our mindset is just set for doing that and giving that out and reciprocating that nonsense, is which I call it. It's not that it's not in the sense of what it is. It does happen, but in the sense of how we play to it is what I call the nonsense. The good vibes we don't encourage. We don't put on pedestals. If someone's doing good for so long, we look for ways to tear them down. We look for ways to destroy their character. And this is how society is. So yes, it's an uphill battle, but what you have to do, such as with anything, you have to continue to fight. Yeah, when people first told me, when I first started sharing what I was sharing, I lost people. Yeah, I lost people. I lost connections on this platform. They stopped answering my DMs. They stopped wanting to be associated with me. Yeah, this is real. It's real. It happens. But where do you come into yourself and say, am I living this life for me? Or am I living it to am I living it for you? And that's what I came about as a reasoning to myself. Say, you know what? I'm gonna lose some. Do you know you do that anyway? Do the ones you know hanging on to you probably not real to you anyway? So why not live your life fulfillingly, live it truthfully and authentically? So therefore, you know if somebody's around you, they know who you are, you know who they are. And there's no hidden agendas. I don't fool with nobody that got hidden agendas. I don't. You know what I'm doing? This is who I am straight up right here from the door. If I peep
Mm.
that you got hidden agendas, I'm not gonna blast you out there, but you're gonna hear me less talk to you. You're gonna hear me less share with you. And that's how you have to do that in this times now. Because they're not gonna make it easy for you. Is anything made easy for you? They tell you to go to school, get degrees so you can get a better job. Got more people with these awesome degrees is not working right now. So do any of it make sense? So you have to make it make sense for yourself. How can I
Mhm.
feel comfortable with doing that? How can I feel okay with sharing this? How can this empower someone who I'm in a relationship with? How can this make me look like a better leader to the troops I'm leading? How can this get me to have people inspired to do more for me? These are the strategic and intentionally ways of what you're doing it. Lose weight
and
if
and that seems like that leads us into the put yourself out there
yes.
mode, where you
That's
gotta
funny how
you
these
gotta
things
let
just
people
walk.
see you being vulnerable.
It's funny how these things just walk together, right? Yeah, you got and the people and putting yourself out there. It's hard. It's hard. Let me get to that part first because I know people want me to address that. Oh, Carl, I can't put myself out there, man. I just got this going on. Do you know we think about more of what people think about us than people think about us? Then I know that was like riddle me this, right? But more people are concerned about what somebody will think about them than people are really concerned about thinking about them. Because
Hmm.
you can put up this whole picture of like, I think this here, my nose is too fat. Michael Jackson ran through that his whole life. My nose too fat. Well, you're African American and we kind of got wide noses. Unless you mix a little bit like me and your nose is a little narrower than normal, right? He got teased, say he had a pig nose when he was a kid. Right? Are those things harmful? Absolutely. I won't say that they're not. The bullying piece of that is harmful and it can be traumatic. I will not say that that's not the case. But what I can say is the case is it's your nose. On your nose. I keep going back to 8 Mile, right? I mean, he had a horrible life. Like Eminem compared to a lot of people, right? Had a horrible life. Trailer. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the trailer. I don't want no disclaimers coming at me. There's nothing wrong with the trailer. If that's what you gotta do, that's what you gotta do, right? Trailer, mom was on whatever she was on, admission, his lifestyle, the hood he grew up in. I grew in the hood too, Chicago, Inglewood. Go look it up. Most killings in Chicago throughout history. I grew up in that neighborhood, right? But what comes from that neighborhood and what comes out of that is the possibility to say, it's strength in this neighborhood, homie. Yeah, I done went through some things, but look what I overcame. Now I could drop a lot of my friends in Inglewood, they would last. So these are the things that you feel power from. And Eminem did that so well in that role. So put yourself out there. You'd be surprised how many people are just waiting to hear your story. And when I say waiting, you say, well, nobody wants to hear me. Yes, they do. They just haven't said it, but they're waiting to hear you. They want to hear your story.
Yeah, so many conversations we have. You can tell your story or you can speak about something that you're doing and it
Yes.
seems like somebody else is doing the same thing. It seems like it's no big deal. It's
Hmm.
the connecting to you, how you went through it, your journey of going through it. Um, and I think what so many folks, that's why you can't always do things for the gram. You can't always do things for
Mm,
social media
yes.
because you have those who are so against being themselves that they stealing other people's stories, honey. They taking
Mm,
everybody else's life and then pretending that it's them who've been through it, or they're making stuff up and say, oh, I was stressing and I was stressing and da 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 da, or I went through cancer and all this. There are people who make up going through cancer. I don't even know what that's about, but it's a well, besides being possibly mental, it's just something that people cannot be comfortable just being themselves. They're taking other people's storylines. So you have to be understandable. People are worried and people are nervous, but you have to be comfortable with that, comfortable with yourself. If there's something you're not ready to share, that's fine. Don't feel like you need to share it to get likes. Please don't do that, because folks need to still remember that once you off that screen, you still have to live a real life.
mhm.
You still have to live a real life, even if it's just you in a little cell. You still have to live that life that you have.
True.
So you can go and pretend and turn on a camera all day and pretend that you have a great life and an amazing life, and you dropping seven figures every hour and da da da. That's cute, right? But
Mhm.
never feel like you now need to follow somebody else or perpetrate yourself to be somebody that you're not.
Mhm.
Because when you get called out there, and baby, folks get called out, and it's not cute when that fall come. It is so not cute. So be comfortable in yourself, and that leads us into the next one. But I wanted to make sure that you were good with this with
No,
this.
putting yourself. No, you hit it straight on the head, and I'm glad you brought that piece back in, like they say that part, because you have to be comfortable with yourself. I could not have shared any of these things if I wasn't comfortable with myself. Bear in mind, I'm not above anyone else, and it's definitely not above anyone that I talk to, coach, counsel, consult, the whole nine, right? uh, I'm always vulnerable with them to let them get that space because it's important to me for people to have space. I don't know. I've been like
Mhm.
that ever since I was a child. It's just important for me for people to have space to say the things that they want to say and to be genuinely with you, right? And I think that me living like that through the course of my life, not in perfection, but just living like that and going through experiences and things, that has made me aware to when people are, that has even made me aware to how people feel even when I'm not in their presence. Those kind of things make you that way, and putting yourself out there really gains that, because I don't put myself out there for no what's the names. I tell people the four things that happened in my life. There were four bad things. They're tragedies to people, right? I call them the highlights of my life because each one of those four things transformed me into who I am today. So they're highlights to me. Most people may look at it and say, "Oh my God, man, you just had it rough." Yes, I did, but I didn't wallow in it. I didn't stay in it, and I ain't continue to lay in it. These are the things that empower us. So putting yourself out there allows others to see there's opportunity for them. And how much more enrichment than that? That to me is a legacy. I know people talk about lots. Oh, I want to have my name on the building. I want my name to be on the street corner. I ain't look up. All of that can erode. But what can erode is what I've shared with someone and they shared with someone, and it goes on and on. That's a legacy. So those are the things that you should be looking for in a legacy. Put yourself out there. Yes.
Let's jump into the, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And we started our whole series off like this. Like
Mm.
this was our go-to phrase about get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So when, of course, you vulnerable. It's one thing to be vulnerable on a Zoom. Maybe it's
Mhm.
you and two other people. Maybe you at the office. It's a small community in that office. But now you opening up your life. Maybe you going on stages now. You becoming a speaker,
Oh yeah.
or you're trying to work with other people. You have to put yourself out there. So you putting yourself out there. You're on social media. You doing whatever. Now, how is it to be comfortable, to be uncomfortable in front of all these eyes and all these perspectives getting dropped back at you, feedback coming back to you?
It still deals with you. That's one piece of the narrative that you can't change. You. So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is just that. Owning the things that were not positive in your life. That's what I mean by getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Because those are the things that you're going to share. Those are some of the things that's going to change other people's lives. Everything that we put out as knowledge base, right, doesn't transform people. Because we think we got this power to, like, psh, oh, I know all of this. I went to all these schools. I know all these certificates. I got all these certifications. I'm all of this. I went through this coaching academy and I've served all of that. That ain't serving people. Your education piece ain't serving people. People need to see transformation in order for them to buy in. That's in anybody's workshop, right? I'm not going to buy into your millions of courses if I don't see or feel or seek out a transformation of myself. So being vulnerable, that transformation that you've made, right, is showing people that there were things in there, and I can't say it enough. There were things in there that I wasn't proud of, but I overcame those things. Now you have steps, right? Now I'm confiding in you with some comfortability because I seen you came from somewhere. It's like me being, I ain't never had a drink in my life, and I'm gonna tell an alcoholic, man, it's easy, stop drinking. They gonna look at me like I'm crazy. Dude, you ain't drank nothing. You don't even know how this do. You don't even know what it does. So how you gonna tell me that? So there's no credibility in that in the first place. So the uncomfortable man says, you know what? I was an alcoholic for 20 years and it destroyed my life and it destroyed my family. And my kids did this or whatever. They can run through their whole story, right? They're not that person anymore. So they say, I've been 20 years sober. This is what I built. I have a company now. I got people that follow me. I got leadership. I got that. That's he has to be comfortable with telling that uncomfortable part of his life because what that provides is transformation for those who haven't got there yet. That provides transformation in a path for those who haven't walked there yet. So that's why I say when you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, I can get on the stage and talk about my childhood. I can get on the stage and talk about the rough times when we ate peanut butter and jelly. Because I'm not eating that now. I can go to the freezer now and get a steak if I need be. I can talk about that because there was an uncomfortable point in my life. But what does that do? How did I get there? Those are what people are looking for transformation. So when you're able to share those and you're comfortable in that uncomfortability of your life, people will be changed when they hear your story.
Mm. Well, I don't know, but you let me know where else you want to take this conversation to as we wrap up. But this is just the beginning of this month where we just exploring being visible and being vulnerable about it, because it's like I said, it's one thing to do it quietly, But
Hmm.
now, when you're trying to say you want to make change in other people's lives, you want to work with other people, how can you show yourself as a person who's in position to help them? You have
Yeah.
to actually figure that out. Like, have you
Mhm.
been through their struggles? That's how so many people can get really good at writing certain kind of copy and content for folks, because they're speaking to their weaknesses in that sense. Like, this is what I've been through. I know. Trust me. So a lot of times, Carl, you say, when you would see Brene Brown, she was talking from a philosophical side, and
Yeah.
you were coming from the lived experience side. And folks drift differently. Some
Mhm.
folks, they'll read quotes all day. They'll read quotes all day. Oh shoot, that got me right here. It's a
Mhm.
quote. It's not a person who said, what, this is how I came up with that quote. This is why I say these things. This is why I say. There's very few people you can go back to and say, you know what, why did you come up with that quote? What were
Mhm.
you saying when that came and popped into your head?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
folks are eating quotes up. And when you go back to saying, you know what, I can tell you my story. This is why I got that. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I live by this saying. Da, 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 da. It hits differently. It just hits differently. And this
It,
is the journey that Carl will be taking you on this month.
yeah. You put a lot of things in perspective there. Uh, no, a lot of people can't, and I put on my website. There's two quotes on my website. If you go to carlshawnwatkins.com, you see when you open it up, the first quote, and that is a lived experience. Everything you want is right on the other side of vulnerability. I say that from lived experiences because everything I wanted in my life pertaining to Carl, not material, not monetary, talking
Mhm.
about Carl and an empowerment of him and who he is, was on the other side of vulnerability. See, we seek to have those transformations to equate to material. I don't look for material a lot of time. Do I want to get paid? Whatever. That goes without saying. That's Captain Obvious. Do I need those things? Yeah, it takes money to do things. And I'm not oblivious to that. But what I'm saying is that when you are a changed person, yourself, you have the ability to make change. But if you're still sitting in the shell of who you can't be or who you're afraid to be, you can't make change not only with yourself, but to anyone that come in contact with you. And it was always my thing that I wanted to change people's lives, not in the essence of a King or a Malcolm X or doing something of that dramatic. I just wanted anybody that spent time with me to have a different perspective about how they think about themselves.
Mhm.
That's a change because if I can have a conversation with you and I can get you to think differently about how you think about you, change is already happening. It's already happening because now you look at things in your life in a different lens. And you say, you know what? Maybe I didn't have it that bad. Because when I ate peanut butter and jelly, someone didn't even have bread. So when you start doing the comparisons to that, yeah, maybe I should not take it for granted that I had a roof on my head and some people slept in the park. Your perspective will start changing, and then you'll be more empowered to the person you are, and then you'll want to drive change. It become a passion thing to you. And the other one I say is that I laid the bricks as a foundation. When people throwing bricks at me, I laid them as a foundation. It's my foundation for bricks. People threw bricks at me when I started being vulnerable. I just grabbed them and built my foundation. Those are lived vulnerability points. And I made sure I put them on my website and I put them a lot in my posts because I want people to see I can go back and tell you what caused me to say that. That's the difference that I always highlighted between Brene Brown. Now, you don't snap at her. Like you say, people move different. People move different. You may like LL Cool J with the smooth rap, or you might like Nas with the hard rap. But you all like rap, right? It's all doing the same thing. That's the same way I move. So it's never no disrespect to Brene, but you can't tell me about being vulnerable because I can tell you how I lived it. I can actually give you the research so you can write your next case study. That's
Mm.
all I was ever saying in that.
All right. And on that note, close us out,
And
sir.
close it. Just drop the mic. Drop the mic. Drop the mic like my man used to talk. Drop the mic. Yeah. No, we thank you guys. We're gonna take you guys on a trip this year. This year, this month. I'm really excited about it. We're gonna get to go into a lot of things. Some of these points I'm gonna be talking about. I've spoke about in conferences and at speaking engagements as well. Share it
Mhm.
with businesses as well, with leaders of all levels as well. So some of these things that we're gonna be talking about. We're going to go into a little backstage. I'm going to get you backstage into the vulnerability tent. And I'm going to let you in to see some things of how I move when you don't see me on. Well, you just about see me every day on screen, but when you don't see me every hour, I'll put it like that, because I'm on somebody's something every day. So if you don't see me every hour, you will. Yeah, and go check me out. I was on last night with my man. I told him I was sending a shout out to him today. My man Mike Abshner. So he's had his podcast last night, his first open podcast, and it was Hounds of Business Happy Hour. It's going to be a great thing, and we just sat around for an hour talking about networking and the genuine authenticity it takes to really network and get stuff out of networking. So to grow your network. So go check that out on his page as well. See me on there with a couple of great people, and also check Charlene out. I know we don't normally do this on this show, but I want to do it because I think it's needful. Go check her out. She's gonna be speaking at this gaming thing. She's gonna be actually speaking, talking about with some gamers. That's big and heavy, right? You never know where those kind of things can lead, and we're always grateful for the opportunities that not only
Yeah.
this platform but just the collaborations present for us because they're life changers. You don't know who she's gonna meet when she talks to at this place. And we're in there with gamers, with people that's spending money, that's in those arenas, that they can just make one decision and it can change her life. So these are the
Mhm.
things that we're always grateful for that these kind of platforms avail to us. So we want to mention that. So that also encourages you. Whoever's
Yeah.
sitting back watching this, think they can't do it, think it's all this elaborate production thing. I got 3 lights, a microphone, and this Mac that's about 3 years old. And I need to know this is how I'm coming to you right now. So this is what we do, right? We love you guys and we thank you guys for showing up as always.
Yes. Deuces, y'all. We'll catch y'all next week.
Next week.